getting to know them personally with interviews on Rock Made of Metal.
My name's Jonny Hawkins. I'm the lead singer in a band called Nothing More. The song's about my sister, and she's my middle sister of 3 kids. I'm the oldest, she was the middle, and I have another sister who's the youngest. And my sister Jenna, I'm trying to figure out how to nutshell this, but basically she was kind of the black sheep in the family, never felt like she quite fit in, and my mom always kind of felt like there was something wrong or off about her. She just, a mother's instinct. My mom could just see that how she interacted with other people or certain decisions she would make. She felt like there was something that needed to be addressed. So she took her to appointments, with doctors and things, and never quite came up with anything super substantial because she wasn't that different really, but as time went on, it kind of played itself out. My sister ended up really she's I guess been diagnosed with anxiety and bipolar, and has also had some very intense mental issues that I can't even quite quantify, but and she got addicted to hard drugs, got into party culture, and that, of course, mixed with any kind of mental instability is pretty much a bad idea. It's a cocktail for destruction. So my sister went through a very destructive, rebellious phase and is still kind of tail spinning out of that. And she got to kind of her worst of it when my mom was dying of cancer. So it was kind of this perfect storm of my sister's world kind of getting to this very dark place, and the rest of the family's world getting to a dark place because my mom was dying. And as I've gotten older, I've sympathized and empathized with my sister more, but at the time, there were just things that what came across to me as just incredibly selfish, where she wouldn't show up to the hospital. My mom, at times, she'd be there at other times, so I don't want to paint her completely one color, but she basically was just at a point where she was just hurting the family and hurting my mom, is how I viewed it, who was the only one really fighting for her at this point, because she'd isolated herself from everyone else and basically said fuck you to everyone, and so when you deal with somebody like that who doesn't want to help themselves and they don't want anybody else to help them, there's not really much you can do. But my mom wouldn't give up because she was a mom, and that's what that song was about. It was really, it just had gotten to such a horrible point that I was basically saying, either do something to change or reach out for help that we're trying to give you, or kill yourself. Just do something, make a decision, sink or swim. And so it's a pretty brutally honest song in what I felt at the moment. And we've tried to take some sort of positivity from that dark situation by bringing light to mental illness and other families who deal with somebody like we dealt, or interacted with my sister, because I'm sure we made a lot of mistakes, because most families aren't given a handbook on how to deal with certain things like that. So that's why we're doing the I Know Jenny campaign, and that's kind of what the song's about. There's a lot more depth to it, obviously, but I have a hard time condensing things. It was very sensitive and a weird thing when we first wrote the song. For me, I felt a lot of nerves about releasing it at all. I mean, I showed my sister the song before we released it, and had talked with my band members and my manager quite extensively about a lot of my emotions with it, and at the time it was just one of those things where I didn't know how Jenna was going to react. I didn't know how people were going to react to this. Such a different place. Now we're releasing it, this year as a single, and I'm just in a much more stable and healed place. And I don't, with my sister, I don't know where she's at because she's so up and down. Like, people ask how she's doing. And a lot of times I say, well, depends on the month that you ask, or the year that you ask. So I don't know, but again, that song was just, at the end of the day, me being honest, and she made all of us feel a certain way, and so I'm just being honest about how I feel as well. So I don't know, it's been tricky. It's been tricky, no doubt. And we've definitely gotten some backlash from people as well who, in the mental health community, saying, how dare you release something like this, especially for someone who's dealing with something like your sister. And I'm like, I can see that, but you also don't know my sister like you know me, and it's a mixed bag. It's much more complicated than it ever comes across, on the surface. But I don't know. It's healing in a lot of ways to just get things out, and so it's weird at first with some songs that are sensitive, but as time goes on, it's a very healing thing, I've been pleasantly surprised, like, to see and also meet people on the road, just who have stories that are incredible, and a lot of their stories are things much more difficult than I've ever dealt with, and some of them, have only dealt with a taste of what I have, but they each have kind of a connecting point to the topic, even if it wasn't their sister. It might have been their mom, their dad, their brother, themselves. A lot of people have attached to the campaign saying that they were Jenny, or they are Jenny, and they're struggling trying to get help at this point. And so it's an interesting thing because it's about something that I think so many people deal with, but there hasn't been, up until this point, a kind of a name for it, a Jenny. And when you deal with, I think when families deal with these kind of situations, whether it's somebody in the family who's a drug addict and a junkie, or someone who has mental issues that are not severe enough to consider them mentally disabled and into a home, but just enough to make them destructive, people don't like to talk about it. It's the skeleton in the closet. And so when we don't talk about these things, nobody ever really learns how to deal with it, and generation after generation we just kind of keep running into that problem and not dealing with it right. And there's a lot of sorrow and mistakes that people make because there isn't any kind of conversation about it and progress. So that's really been our goal with the whole thing, and it's been cool to see how well it's happened. We've had a lot of people say thank you for talking about it, because nobody's, we all felt personally, before anybody else heard the song and we were still working on it, we all felt something really special about it. But it's been cool to see, when we started playing it live and the CD came out, way before it was a single, people were just connecting, and you could tell there was something different. And so when we see stuff like that, it just continues to reaffirm our original feelings about it. I don't know. There's part of me that feels like, my whole life I've been kind of a dreamer, in that I've always, when I get a really strong feeling about something, I've seen when I was younger it drive me towards things, and those things kind of grow much like a tree, and just you keep watering it and give it sunshine. And so I expected the same from this song, And so it's not, in a lot of ways it's not surprising, because I had such a strong feeling that there was part of me that felt like this is going to echo much bigger than just me and my family. This is going to echo to a lot of people and resonate. But it is a weird thing to look back and try to imagine the person I was before the song was ever even an idea, and just when it was happening. You know, so for example, there's a song called Here's to the Heartache that is actually our latest single in the United States. We release singles at different times in different countries, and Here's to the Heartache is all about these experiences that you have in life, and many of which I've looked back on and in the moment, like, could not see any light or silver lining or anything. I could try to be positive about it all I want, but at the end of the day, or in that moment, it was just like I knew I'd be fooling myself, or that's what it felt like. But in hindsight, when you really look at how your life pans out, and when you go through those situations with hope and positivity, even when you don't see any positivity, you see that they were like the catalyst for some of the greatest things in your life ever. And looking back on Jenny, I mean, that was a catalyst not only for, I think, a really beautiful song that's helped a lot of people, even though it's beautifully dark. It's also changed me to be a person I don't think I ever would have been had that not happened to me. So I'm very thankful for my sister in that way. And she's been probably the person in my life the most who stirred up the dirt inside of me, because my mind cannot put her in a box. Whereas I think with a lot of other people, my mind can do that, you know? Hey, this is Johnny from Nothing More. You're watching Rock Made of Metal. Click here to subscribe. Oh, right, maybe there somewhere. Click here to watch more videos. Later.